Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, here with my brief thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife. This was directed by Jason Reitman, not only the son of Ivan Reitman, but also the director of movies like Juno and Tully. And this is the fourth Ghostbusters movie, or 3 if you don't count the reboot. Just over 30 years after the events of the original Ghostbusters, the family of Egon Spengler, whose granddaughter, played by Mckenna Grace, and grandson are played by Finn Wolfhard. They move into, well, I want to say the house next door to the last house on the left, only to discover that not only was it owned by their grandfather, but their grandfather kept all of the Ghostbusters tech in the basement because a storm was coming. A very, very bad storm. I love the original Ghostbusters. It's one of my favorite comedies. I even own the Blu-ray steelbook of it. It's also one of my favorites. Take a look at the library ghost there. Ghostbusters 2 is a movie that I think it's overly hated. It's not great, but I liked what they tried to go for. It has a lot of quotable lines.
Oh, come on, there's always room for Jell-O.
And the pink slime was actually a nice idea. And then there's the 2016 one, which... Jesus. Okay. I don't want to talk about this for longer than I have to. All that I will say is that I have nothing unique to add to it. I just think the whole thing was just royally stupid. I saw it not... And just so you know, to all you Ghostbusters 2016 haters who are gonna ride me for paying to see this movie, I actually worked at a movie theater, which meant that I could see one free movie per week, and so I end up seeing it but not paying for it, so take solace in that. But honestly, the whole Ghostbusters 2016 thing was just a complete crap show. Like just all of the discourse online on various social medias and people just choosing Ghostbusters 2016 as their hill to die on. Everybody just looked like a complete and total clown. And and it turns out when the whole thing turned out to be a box office failure, it underperformed. I had 2 thoughts. Number 1, this Bernie Sanders clip.
That's a good thing.
And after that whole debacle, I could have gone the rest of my life without seeing anything Ghostbusters related. Ghostbusters media of any kind, podcasts, like, not a thing. So when I heard this movie was being made, I was prepared for just a sequel of that. And honestly, the reactions to it have been pretty mild, which honestly was just fine for me. And now that I've actually seen the movie, this movie is about 1,000 times better than I thought it would ever be. Firstly, the best part by a country mile in this movie is Mckenna Grace. I thought her acting chops were great. She actually has some pretty funny lines. Without spoiling anything, her whole gimmick is that she tells these unfunny jokes, like these kind of knock-knock jokes, like, hey, what do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Like those kind of jokes. However, she delivers it in such a way that I found myself laughing at them. In a way, kind of like, do you all know the episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Data tries to turn himself into a stand-up comic and kind of breaks down what makes a joke, and he goes on stage and does a stand-up set only to kind of fail because you can logically try and think about how a joke is funny, and then there's actually making it funny. There's a big difference. That's kind of like what happens in this movie. Finn Wolfhard, who I'm fairly certain it's written into any of his contracts that he must be involved in something supernatural in order to get work, he was good in here too. Paul Rudd, in the few scenes he was in, was really good. I liked his personality. He had some good lines too. There's a little boy in here named Podcast. Yes. He was funny, but I was not a fan of the name. It's such a 2021 name. I'm just glad this movie didn't take place in 1997, or else he would have been named Slap Bracelet or something. Or if he were born in the early 2000s, he would have named himself LimeWire or something, or Napster. The actor, though, did a good job, and he had some funny lines, too. He had a couple that actually made me laugh out loud, so props to him, however, stupid name. Now, when it comes to this movie, I've seen in all the reviews I've read/watched that one of the main sticking points is the nostalgia. And now that I have actually seen this movie, I can say that there are many references to the original 1984 Ghostbusters throughout. So that's either going to make you really mad or you're going to love it. For me, I fell somewhere in the middle. There were several instances where I saw a thing happen and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then there are other times where I was just like, oh, come on, guys, seriously? I'll talk more about that in a second. There were several little moments, things that connected back to the original that I actually kind of popped for. Like, for example, in the house that this family lives in, let's just call it Spangler's house, there's a very tall stack of books, kind of like in the library scene in the original. I liked seeing that. There's a scene where the kids get pulled over in Ecto 1 by the cops, and in the glove compartment is a Twinkie. I was like, oh, come on, but then I kind of had to laugh. But then the kind of painful references turn out to be pretty integral to the plot, and I guess I'll go into the stuff that I didn't like, because there was some stuff that I was not a fan of. And the biggest problem that I have with this movie is that... shoot, I can't spoil it. Essentially, if you've seen the original, it heavily relies on something that happens near the end of that, involving a door and a key. I'm sure you can put the pieces together. I had no problem with this. My just question was, is this the best you can do? Because if you're short on ghost stories, I mean, sheesh, take a look at the podcasting space. There are like 1,000 true crime or ghost story podcasts out there. Pick a story. The Jersey Devil is just sitting there. And it just felt like a transparent way of just them going, say, hey, member? But at the end of the day, minus some of the more heavy-handed references and a couple side characters, this was about as good a Ghostbusters movie in 2021 as we will probably ever get. I am going to give it a great rating. What did you all think of Ghostbusters Afterlife? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Please keep the toxicity to a minimum. I have great subscribers, so I shouldn't have to say this. However, I'm just protecting myself, I guess. Also, who was your favorite of the quartet? For me, I was always a Venkman man. Leave that in the comments as well. And if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam. I'll see you in the next one.